All right, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm gonna talk about how you can invest in the Philippine stock market. So if you are a Filipino abroad, or if you are an OFW, or if you're somebody interested in investing in the Philippine stock market, in the Philippine industry in general, then this video is for you. So stick around as I break down the three components of this. Mainly, number one, the Philippine stock market. Number two, how to make money in the Philippine stock market. And number three, how to actually start investing. Stay till the end, and I'll throw in a few pro tips for you to do this the best way possible. All right, so if you're ready, let's jump into my computer and let's get started. For anybody wanting more customized advice or wanting some more one-on-one time, we do have that monthly giveaway where we would select a subscriber with a creative comment and a question, and we'd give that person a half an hour free consulting session in order to give them clarity on anything they have questions about. That be investing, side hustles, lifestyle, travel, anything, right? So if you're interested, like the video, drop a comment, and then maybe we'll get some one-on-one time pretty soon. Like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna go through these four things, right? Let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about let's unpack the Philippine stock market real quick. So to give you guys a brief history of the Philippine stock market, it was established back in 1927, making it one of the oldest stock markets in Asia. Now in 1993, the Manila and the Makati stock exchanges merged, which then formed the PSE as we know it today. Now, the PSE, it tracks the performance of the top 30 Philippine companies, and then it also has sectors that include the banking, real estate, and consumer goods. All right, so let's talk about the past performance of the PSE. So in the last 20 years, we've seen a 500% growth for the PSE. So people that really have a long-term investing mindset would have generated a lot of returns from staying in it for the last 20 years, obviously. Now in 2009, we saw the biggest bull run happen. And then the end of the bull run then ended on 2019. So let's actually track that. Let's see. PSE 20-year. This might not be the best place to. Well, this is one of the websites to take a look at it. But then we also have this chart. And then this is 1 day intervals. Let's take a look at how it did in the last 25 years. So you can see here in 2009, this was when the biggest bull run began in the PSE, right? Peaking up to 2018, and then slowly coming back down, and then sort of like normalizing. You can take a look at the trends in the charts, right? So that's the PSE index. Now, there's two ways that people invest in the PSE. The first one is the traditional method, and this is the old style method. You might have seen this in some of the movies or shows where people are calling in to their brokers wanting to buy, or going into the office. Now that's the old way. The new way, you have a lot of these online brokerages and online platforms that allow you to seamlessly buy, sell, and trade companies in the PSE and also the entire index. So now it's easier than ever for people to start investing with these platforms. So typically all you need is a phone, and then your application details. And then for these platforms, they also have lower fees and minimum investments. So if you're an OFW or if you're a Filipino abroad interested in investing, then these are great options for you to take a look at. The traditional method, again, this was the old way, and now you have the new way of investing. And then a few samples of these are Cole Financial, First Metrosec, BPI Trade, and BDO Securities. So what you can do is start researching these platforms and then see which one is best for you, right? Because depending on the type of account you have in the Philippines or the type of securities you want to purchase, there might be different options that gives you different advantages, right? So we might do another breakdown for the platforms, comparing the platforms. It might be for another video. All right, so here you want to research the top PSE companies and then compare the online brokers where you want to start creating an account. So let's jump into number 2 here. How do you make money in the Philippine stock market? So the first way is capital appreciation. So that's the actual growth of your stock value. Now, let's put an example here. Let's say you bought Jollibee shares in 2010, priced at 100 pesos, right? And then in 2019, when it peaked at 320, for example, you sold. The difference between what you bought it for and then sold it for, that's then your profit, right? So long term, you can also keep holding these assets and slowly buy in with the goal of having that asset value increase over time, right? So that's the first method of how you make money with this. Now, the second method is dividends. So on top of getting your stock value appreciating, there are different types of companies that also pay out dividends in a specific frequency. So meaning on either a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, twice a year, or once a year, they would pay out specific percentages for however many shares you hold in that company or in that stock, right? So for example, you have the BDO Unibank that offers a 2 to 3% annual dividend yield, meaning if you put in, let's say, 10,000 pesos or 1,000 pesos, you would be making 20 to 30 pesos return on that, right? So 2 to 3% annual dividend yield. So you also have companies for like Meralco and A-REITs that pay on a quarterly basis. Now, a lot of people, there's a segment of investors that are called dividend investors, and that's their goal, right? Is to accumulate a lot of dividends. And there's also a specific group of investors, for example, that only invest in REITs, right? Not suggested. You want to diversify, but in the REIT segment, for example, you have a lot of these REITs that do pay out dividends on a higher basis. And what allows them to do that is managing their own cash flow and their own revenue in order to pay that out to consumers, right? To shareholders. So take a look at companies that are offering dividend payouts and then do some more research on them and then see what fits your goals, right? The third one is, how do you actually go ahead and do this? So the first step is you want to pick a stockbroker. Now, depending where you are and the type of bank accounts you have, and really your residency and your citizenship, you will have different options, right? So let's say you're a Filipino that lives abroad and you might have been naturalized in your new country. Let's say you're a Canadian or an American or a European that's also a dual citizen of the Philippines. You can open up different brokerages, platforms like interactive brokers that allow you to create an account and then also buy into international funds, for example, that hold these Philippine shares. Now, if you have a Philippine bank account, you can also go into or take a look at these other platforms like Cole Financial, Dragonfly, and First Metro Sec, or BDO Securities, because what they allow you to do is it's a simple way for you to link your bank account and then process your withdrawals or your deposits faster. So depending on your bank account, your residency, you want to take a look at these platforms and choose a platform for you to get started with, right? Now, the second thing they will need, the platforms, is your requirements. Typically, that includes a government ID, a tax identification number. So for Philippine citizens, if you are not a Philippine citizen, you can get a tax identification number, proof of billing, and then your initial deposit amount, right? So depending on the brokerage you choose, go ahead and submit those requirements. And then once you're approved, go ahead and make your initial deposit to fund your account, which moves to step 3. So some brokerages, most of them, they allow bank transfers, Gcash transfers, so you're able to just seamlessly do an online deposit. And you also have other brokerages or platforms that allow an auto deposit, where let's say if you're allocating a specific amount every month or every week, you can automatically deposit that into your brokerage, and then that way you automatically fund your account without you having to think about it. All right, next step is you want to set your investment goals, right? So this is very important because it determines how comfortable and how emotional you get with your investments. So let's say you have a long-term investment goal and then time frame. Let's say you want it for 5 years plus, and then you want to grow stocks, ETFs, REITs for compounding gains. Now your decisions will be different versus if you want a short-term return. So the companies or the types of stocks that you purchase and buy and sell might be different depending on your goal. If you have a long-term goal, maybe you want to be daily peso averaging into some companies and then not being worried about the market fluctuations, versus if you have short-term goals, maybe you go for more high-risk industries with higher potential of return, and then make sure that you just watch the market in order to not fall into a deficit and come out of it profitable. So set your investment goals. The 5th step is you want to plan your investment strategy. So going back to your short-term versus long-term goal setting, you also then want to assess either you're going to be actively trading. How many times a week will you be looking at these things? Once a week, once a month, once a day? Will you be reading news? Will you be actively making positions, closing positions? Or will you be more of a long-term value investor where you just deposit, buy, purchase regardless of any condition, market high, market low, continuing to reinvest? That's also another strategy. Number 6 is you want to do more research on the industries and companies. Specific sectors are positioned for growth depending on, let's say, the economic climate, right? Or there's a few factors that affect the growth potential of an industry. For example, now there's a big trend in AI adoption, data, internet infrastructure, and then one company that you can take a look at is Converge in the Philippines, right? So Converge, Philippines stock. And then because of the increased demand of data, and then also their increased acquisition, expansion, they're positioned to compete with the big players, right? Like PLDT and the other big internet providers in gaining market share. And then the other thing about Converge is that they're also going into markets that haven't been explored or maximized by the big companies, which tells you that there's more expansion, there's more room to grow, right? So if we take a look at their 3-year trajectory, so they came out of the gate at 15, and then they peaked at 39, and then they slowly dip. What this means here sometimes is people also, traders take profits, right? Or there's economic conditions that affect the stock. And then if we see here, they went to their all-time low at 8. We're seeing 8. And then now they're back up on an upward trajectory. So with the new investments in infrastructure and then their market penetration, long-term wise, there's a good chance that if this company is managed well, then there's a good chance that you'll have a good positive return with investing in this stock, for example, right? So there are ways, and then there are industries and opportunities. This is just one of them. And again, the recording of this video, this is my personal opinion, not financial advice. Do your own research. But this is just, something I'm personally looking at regarding up-and-coming industries and companies that I can take a position in and sit on in the next 3, 4, 5 years, and then see how this, company would perform in that long-term time frame. You also can take a look at different market segments like real estate, banking, consumer goods, tech, right? Converge, Globe. And don't get hyped. Don't get caught up in the hype. That's the thing, is you want to do your own research, be diligent in wanting to see the actual expansion and value of that company. And then that's pretty much it. After you've done your research, you've done all the previous steps, you are ready to start investing. My suggestion is start with some good, high quality, high valued stocks, blue chip stocks, and then hold on to them. Have at least two strategies, one for a long term and then one for a short term. And then for your long term strategy, you want to take a look at the ones that might be paying out dividends, might have some growth potential long term, companies that you really support. And then for your short term strategies, you can take a look at companies that have a high potential for return, right, in a shorter amount of time. And then if you have the time to actively watch and trade them, then you can stay active and actually take a look at these trades happening, and then make your right buy and sell options in order to stay profitable. Your action items there is just research 3 to 5 stocks or ETFs or REITs that you want to get into, and then maybe start taking positions in few of them, allocate your portfolio, your funds accordingly, and then take positions with, start with small amounts and then gradually increase those positions. Okay, so a few last minute things here, some pro tips for you guys. If you're still watching, this is where it gets juicy, because now these are what you need to succeed with this long term, right? The first is you want to have emotional control, meaning if you see people buying onto the hype, don't fall into the FOMO, right? Don't fall into getting emotionally hyped into buying on that way up, because then you get emotional on the way down and eventually you catch the knife on the way down and then you're hurting both ways. So emotional control. Second is portfolio diversification. Let's say you focus on researching 1 or 2 specific assets, asset classes, and then companies. Eventually, you also want to diversify your holdings. Now, this is easily done by investing into like a REIT that has a bigger holding group or an ETF. But the concept's the same. You want to diversify so that if one industry goes down, you're still protected by hedging your portfolio across multiple industries. Next one is avoiding the hype. For example, now you have Nvidia in the US, in Canada, Tesla, a lot of hype, a lot of growth, but also if you take a look at their valuations, their PE ratios, they're quite overvalued. There is a risk that those might correct, and then again, you might catch that knife falling down. The next one is having an exit strategy. So either you're investing for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the time frame, know what sort of strategy you put in place in order to achieve those goals. You also then want to do quarterly reviews. So although even the dividend investing some people can call it a passive way of investing, you still want to stay on top of your portfolio, on top of the industry, so that if there's any major or big changes happening, then you're prepared to do the right steps, right? Make the right moves after that. Next thing is dividend reinvesting. So when you're holding companies and stocks that give you those monthly or quarterly dividends, you can look into an automatic feature on your investing platform called a DRIP, where it automatically buys back more stocks after you get paid the dividends. Right? So what this does is it automates your savings in purchasing dividends. So it just compounds with time, right? Next one is you want to do or explore ETF investing. So ETF investing, it's a fund that invests in a group or an index. So for example, you have funds like Zio, Sky, or different ETF funds in the Philippines as well, where you can hold some funds. So let's find some. So here on the PSE website, you have ETFs, the definition, all of that. And then let's see. If you are a Filipino abroad, this is an ETF that holds the Philippine PSE. It matches the Philippine PSE. Philippine Stock Exchange. So if you look up this ticker, EPHE, right? The EPHE offers investors exposure to the emerging market of the Philippines by investing securities of companies that are based in the nation. So this ETF is available, for example, in major platforms, Moomoo, IBKR. If you have a platform in the US, Canada, or globally, this is one very straightforward way of investing into the Philippine stock index, right? The PSE. And other than that, you can also go directly into the platforms and then directly set up an account depending on your banking situation. All right. And then lastly, of course, is staying informed. You want to either have a group of people, a group of other investors. You want to subscribe to YouTube channels just like this, join communities online, and then just stay top, make investing or investing information top of mind, right? Because the more you're educated regarding your finances, the more you can control your finances. That is pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video and if you have any other questions, feel free to like the video, drop a comment, ask the questions, and then let us know if you want any other types of information on investing, breaking down any other Philippine stocks, for example, and then we'll put that together for you. Awesome.